I'm Lucy Tobin, author of new book Entrepreneur, How to Start an Online Business, which includes interviews with the founders of big name websites including Just Giving, GoCompare, Mumsnet, Wonga and Zoopla. In it they explain how they started their online businesses and how you can do it too. I'm here at Mumsnet Towers to meet Justin Roberts, co-founder of parenting site Mumsnet. I'm here with Justine Roberts, founder of the parenting forum Mumsnet. And I remember in the book in Entrepreneur you told me how before you started Mumsnet you imagined it being a kind of business with a friend where you'd have your board meetings in the jacuzzi. Hasn't quite worked out like that, I'm guessing.
No.
How did the business become what it is today?
Well, it took a long time, but yes, it was. I roped in my business partner by convincing her that it would have this marvellous work-life balance thing. Because we both had very young children and we both stopped doing what we'd previously been doing, partly because we didn't want that traditional long hours working full-time pressured environment while we were bringing up kids. It just didn't work for us. So I convinced her that we could have our board meetings in the jacuzzi, and we managed one, but the papers got all soggy, as they would. But she has actually, my business partner, not me, but she has always worked part-time. So in some senses, I don't think I really misled her. But I'm not sure whether that would have worked for me as well. So yes, it's been a slow burner, Mumsnet. It's been 12 years. In internet years, we're practically geriatric, I think, but it is pretty full on. It's not quite the sort of part-time idle working around the kids sort of lifestyle I had in mind.
And do you think it is possible to be an online entrepreneur in obviously you're full-time and you've got two of you, as a solo part-time kind of job?
I think it's hard to be part-time when you're running your own business, because basically the calls come whenever they come and there's no one else to pick up the slack. It's not like a traditional job where you can leave at 9:30 and shut the door and go home and it's not your problem anymore. It is your problem. So I think it's hard, but I definitely think you probably can work more flexibly. I mean, although I work probably longer hours than I ever did working full-time, even when I worked in the city. You can, I don't miss the school play, and I can get out for sports day and stuff like that. So, and we actually have that as a philosophy for our entire company. No one ever has to miss the school assembly and feel bad about it. I'm sure businesses generally could do that better. But if you are running the show, you can kind of set the rules on that, which is nice.
Obviously, with the advent of Blackberries and iPads and iPhones, it's easier to keep in touch on the move. Do you think it's easier now to start up an online business than it was when Mumsnet was launched 12 years ago?
I think it's definitely easy to be in touch. It's easier to do things on the go, for sure, but it's also easier to do things 24/7, which isn't actually that healthy. And, the number of people who lose their iPhones down toilets because they're doing this, and that's expensive. I've done it a couple of times. I mean, is it easier to be an entrepreneur? I think one thing is a lot easier, and that is the internet makes much more financial sense now than it did 12 years ago when we started. All those e-commerce models were really not worth the paper they were written on, not least because people were on dial-up, and the whole process of getting on the internet was so painful for the user. But also, it just hadn't settled down, and in our case, we make our money mostly from advertising. Advertisers hadn't kind of made the leap of faith 12 years ago, and even some of them are still making that leap of faith today. They're still switching from print to online and don't quite trust web communities and things like that. So it's easier in that sense. I think the business case for an internet business, everyone understands that now.
So it's easier to stay in touch with the new technology, but do you think it's harder to start an online business now because there's fewer gaps in the market? The internet is obviously already quite an established marketplace.
I'm sure there are opportunities, but I think the difference is people probably have got a lot of capital in the way that when we started, because the business case wasn't there, there wasn't firms weren't prepared to put £5 million just to test something out, because quickly they realised that there was no revenue coming in. So it gave us a little bit of space to grow something organically without the big players coming in and stealing the ground.
And what are your top tips for wannabe online entrepreneurs?
I think you really have to know your audience and your market and why you're doing it and why what you do is different and why people will like what you do. So you have to have a very, very, very clear idea, and the simpler the better, I think. And you have to always have in mind who you're servicing and what your customer wants.
And you just started Grandsnet, the online forum for grandparents, following on from Mumsnet. Have you got any other expansion plans in the pipeline?
Not right now on film. I might tell you afterwards. No, there are lots of exciting things we're doing. We are actually about to launch a Mumsnet cars site. We're doing an academy with courses. There are lots of things which I think we think we can do that our users will enjoy us doing for them. So yeah, I mean, lots of irons in the fire really, but